In this video, we are going to be covering how to identify and overcome intimacy issues. Watch the entire video as I will explore and identify the intimacy issues and what you can do about it. Intimacy is mental health disorder that can lead you to sabotage relationship and isolate yourself. It takes time and patience, but with professional guidance, you can learn to overcome your fears and form the meaningful bonds with others. So this channel is created to be motivating, educative, informative, entertaining, and how to identify and overcome intimacy issues. And watch the entire video as I will explore and identify the intimacy issues and what you can do about it. To be intimate with someone is to share close and physical ties. If you fear intimacy, you fear becoming too close to others. Intimacy relationships can be divided into 4 types. The first one is the experiential, where you share common activity, interests, experiences that bring you together. The second one is intellectual. You bond through an exchange of ideas, deep and meaningful discussions. The third one is emotional. You share innermost feelings from spiritual connection. And the fourth one is sexual. You have to close sexual relationship. If you have the fear of intimacy, you can be deliberately avoiding intimacy, or you may not realize you're doing it. Fear of intimacy doesn't necessarily mean that you don't want intimate relationships. You may be longing for intimacy, though you can't seem to let yourself be that vulnerable. So first, let's jump into the fear of intimacy and the symptoms. Fear of intimacy may be obvious, but it can be misinterpreted as anger, indifference, or coldness. Someone who fears intimacy may have low self-esteem. They may have trust issues that they need to deal with. They may experience episodes of anger. They actively avoid physical contact, and in addition, they have trouble forming or committing to close relationships. They have a history of unstable relationships, and they are unable to share feelings or express emotions to everybody else, have insatiable sexual desire, and live in self-imposed social isolation. What are the causes of the fear of intimacy? There are a number of things that might cause someone to fear intimacy. It may have to do with past experience, especially those of childhood. It is a likely defense mechanism. You don't allow yourself to become vulnerable or just to someone else because you don't want to get hurt. Number one is a fear of rejection. Fear of intimacy may be rooted in the fear of being rejected, so you never take those first steps towards building a relationship. You may fear rejection because it happened to you before you have seen it, or it happened to others and you don't want to experience that kind of hurt. Second is a fear of abandonment. You might be worried that once you're in an intimate relationship, the other party will leave, and the fear of abandonment can be due to something that happened in childhood. It could be the death of separation of a parent or other causes. So what is avoidant personality disorder? Avoidant personality disorder, also known as intimacy anxiety disorder, is an anxiety disorder affecting about 2.5% of the population. It affects men and women equally, and friends that start in childhood. Symptoms of avoidant personality disorder usually include low self-esteem, shyness, and awkwardness. Add to that, there's fear of judgment, of humiliation, there's avoidance of social situations, oversensitivity to criticism, exaggerated sense of potential problems. The cause of avoidant personality disorder isn't clear, but it tends to run families. On theory, it is caused by a combination of genetic and environmental factors. It could be triggered by an instant of rejection or abandonment. The effect of childhood sexual abuse is another thing that we have to look into. Sexual abuse in children can lead to fear of intimate emotions or sexual relationships, such as abuse that can make it challenging to trust another person enough to become intimate with them. You see, symptoms of the fear of intimacy linked to childhood and sexual abuse may include inhibited sexual desire and difficulty becoming aroused. The second thing you have to know it includes is seeing sex as an obligation, the feeling of anger and disgust or guilt when touched, emotional distance during sex and inappropriate sexual behaviors, physical problems such as pain, erectile dysfunction, or difficulty in having an orgasm. Some other potential causes of fear of intimacy are previous of verbal physical abuse, parental neglect, separation issues involving overdependence on parents and family, fear of being controlled or losing oneself in a relationship. What are the effects of the fear of intimacy? Fear of intimacy can be a significant impact to your life, particularly in a romantic relationship. Research shows that anxiety disorders can negatively affect the quality of a party in a relationship. Fear of intimacy may cause one to withhold affection or put up barriers of emotional or sexual affection. If your partner doesn't know about or understand this, they may feel unwanted and unloved. The other effects of the fear of intimacy that we can actually cover is social isolation. There's greater risk of depression and substance abuse. There's serial dating and having a lot of short-term relationships. There's sabotaging of relationships by being difficult and overly critical. So how do you diagnose the fear of intimacy? It's always a good idea to start with a complete physical checkup, especially if you haven't had one in a while. Once the physical illness have been ruled out, the doctor can refer you to appropriate mental and health specialists. Psychiatrists and psychologists are trained to conduct evaluation, diagnose anxiety disorders such as fear of intimacy and avoidant personality disorder. So how to overcome fear of intimacy? The approach to overcoming these fears depends on how you have them in the first place, as well as how severe the fear is. You may have a very mild fear that you can deal with it on your own or with some behavioral therapy, but if your fear is due to trauma and severe, it is accompanied by depression, professional counseling is recommended. Coming to terms with your fear of intimacy. Think about events in your life and try to understand where your fears came from. Are you unconsciously destroying relationships and do you want more meaningful relationships? Value yourself. As a relationship comes in a degree of uncertainty, many intimate relationships are worth having, even if they don't last forever. Cut yourself some slack. You are not perfect, but neither is a potential relationship partner. If someone ends a relationship with you, it says nothing about your value as a person. Remember, communicate. Be open to your partner. It's not too painful to talk about your fears and where they come from. If it is too painful to discuss, explain that you're willing to work through these issues with your medical professional. Define your personal boundaries. Describe what helps you feel safe as well as things that trigger fear. Tell your partner that you need and let them know that you're trying to overcome your fears. Then remember to seek help from a professional. The main treatment for avoidant personality disorders is psychotherapy. Mental health professional can help you understand where these fears originated and how to cope with them. So what do you do when your partner fears intimacy? If your partner who has the fear of intimacy, keep the lines of communication open and let them know you're available to listen, but don't push them into revealing the source of their fears because it may be too painful. Support them in seeking therapy and ask what you can do to help them feel safe. Be patient because learning to cope takes time. It is not easy, but keeping in mind that the fear of intimacy is not about personality. We have covered how to identify and overcome the intimacy issues. Watch the entire video as I will explore and identify the intimacy issues and what you can do about them. Remember, the fear of intimacy is mental health disorder that can lead you to sabotage relationship and isolate yourself. It takes time and patience, but with professional guidance, you can learn to overcome your fears and form the meaningful bonds with others. If you're a fan of this type of videos, press on the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to this channel, and remember to tap on the bell so that you'll be alerted by YouTube when the next video is out. Finally, if you like this video, click on the like button as it helps on the growth of the channel and the YouTube logarithms. Thank you.